All right, well, welcome everyone. Mike Sambrook here with Braden Douglas, author of Becoming a Leader of Impact. Braden and I have been friends and kind of involved with LeaderImpact for a number of years, creating the Foundations workbook that many of you probably would have worked through. And this book flowed out of that, I think. So Braden, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and where this book came from?
Yeah, sure. So I own a marketing company called Crew, and we specialize in food and beverage marketing, but my passion is helping leaders and working with LeaderImpact, and everybody's got a different definition of impact. And it didn't matter where you went around in the whole world, everybody wanted to do it. Everybody says, yes, impact. Yes, absolutely. I want to live a life of impact. But what does that really mean? How do you get there? And so we felt like we needed to put this down. And so what I started to do this one day is I was getting some feedback from different things I've been involved in LeaderImpact, and I said, you know what, we're really about professional development, but also personal side and relationships and your personal development, but without a strong spiritual core, without a real faith component in Jesus, it doesn't make a difference. It's either going to be self-focused, it's going to be different. So we said, can we bring them all together and can we create this Venn diagram in a way? So I remember just drawing this Venn diagram out on a plane ride and thinking, you know what, this actually could make sense. And if we align these three areas, professional, personal, and spiritual, you can really start to live a life of impact out.
Mm-hmm. So how would you flesh that out for people?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think every leader, we define success and usually our identity through how well we're doing professionally. And we start to just feel like our success as leaders, as business owners, is defined by that. Or even career. If you're working up your ladder, what title do you have? What are you actually accomplishing with your life? Can you show something tangible that could show people, yes, I've arrived and I am worth what I think my abilities are? And that's what a lot of people think, yeah, that's a successful life. And if you've been around LeaderImpact in different circles, we also know that, it's also about, if you can be financially successful, but what if your marriage is a wreck? What if you don't have a relationship with your kids? What happens if you don't have a spiritual life? Like, what happens when you die? Mm-hmm. Right? What's going to happen? Right? And these questions you don't like to talk about a lot, but what is this path that I'm really working towards? And I think as leaders, we get so tunnel visioned, in our jobs, in our work, that you kind of wake up one day and you realize, man, a lot of time has gone by. Yes, I'm building something, but what is it building towards? And this is where it was probably about 4 or 5 years ago, where we lost about 3 or 4 big clients all at the same time. Boom, our profitability went right down. And you realize at that moment where you're then having to put money back in, you're draining your bank accounts, you realize that, oh my gosh, like this could all go away in a matter of months. Mm-hmm. And all this work, all this effort, everything that I've poured into, it could just be gone. And who am I?
Yeah.
Am I an owner still? Am I successful still? And you start realizing that success can't be defined by, material components. It can't be defined by how well your business is doing. It has to be defined by something else. And that's where I think your identity needs to be grounded in a relationship with God, in your spiritual life, with relationships at home, because you realize that's all you have at the end of it. And your professional, that's just a means. That's just an engine to help really drive a bigger purpose in your life. And that is why, for me, when I was writing this book, I'm like, I want to speak to leaders to help them have a bigger vision that you are more than your title, you're more than your job, you are more than how much money you make. You have a unique purpose, and impact is going to be the only thing that is going to matter when it is all done and finished.
Yeah. What's something like concrete that you were able to do to say, I'm shifting gears because the target's changed, and I'm gonna be impactful? What did that look like for you?
Well, that's a great question. I think the key is we always look at outcomes. In business, we look at outcomes of money, profit, revenue. In impact, it's about people and relationships. What are those for you? Are you building into people's lives? Do you have close relationships with others? Are you making a difference actually in those people's lives? And are you intentional? Do you know what they want to do in life? Do you know what their vision for their life is and their purpose? Are you helping them achieve that? Are you actually caring about how your influence on them is actually reaching it. And I think many times you start realizing that it's not about what you can extract and get from employees or from people in your life, but it's really how you give. And that's why I think it is way better to give than it is to receive. And I think it's that switch where you start to think, you know what, that's what impact is. And a legacy is how deep those rows go.
Yeah. One of the stories you tell in here is about Simon Whitfield and Colin Jenkins in the Olympics and how they work together. Tell a little bit about what happened with those two, and then I have a follow-up question for you on that.
Yeah, this is a fun Canadiana story, but Simon Whitfield is a gold medalist in the triathlete. So in 2000 Olympics, he won gold for Canada. First time, and Canada doesn't win a lot of gold medals in the Summer Olympics. Let's be honest, like it's pretty rare. So we're like, yes, Simon, right? And so the next 4 years, the expectations were really big. 2004, Simon coming in and he bombs. He, late teens, doesn't finish very well. And he was saying, okay, well, next Olympics, this is 8 years after the 2000 in Beijing now in 2008. He was saying, well, how can I actually medal for Canada? And the only way that he would be able to do it, because he was older now, was to have help. Now, most Olympic sports, especially in triathlon, it's individual, you don't have help. But there was a guy on his team, on the Canadian triathlon team, his name is Colin Jenkins. And he said to Colin, hey, Colin, you know what, if we both just run our race, we're gonna come in late teens in the 20s. But if we work together, I think one of us, can get to the podium. I think, and I probably have the better chance. So basically what Colin Jenkins did is he ran ahead when they went to the swimming event. He would basically plow the way through the water so that Simon could draft him and follow him. Mm-hmm. And then on the bike, Colin went before him and Simon drafted him. So he was able to conserve energy and it wasted almost all of Colin's, right? So Colin's just out there busting his tail and Simon's just drafting him. But that gave Simon enough time when it came to the run. He had enough energy to be able to compete. And he was in 8th place out of the run or out of the bike. He was able to get around, was in the lead in the gold medal and just lost it at the very end to claim a silver medal, which everybody thought was insane. Now, Colin, he came dead last. He basically wasted all his energy, came last in the race, and he was probably the happiest guy there running down that aisle and everybody's, kind of cheering like, hey, well done, last place. But he was excited because he saw on the leaderboard that Simon had claimed a silver medal and that all his efforts to help him get there was worth it.
Yeah. Who have you been the Simon Whitfield? Who was your Colin Jenkins? And what roles have you played the Colin Jenkins? And how does that play out for you?
Yeah, and I think in the book, one of the, this section is that, impact it's hard. It's not easy. We all want to be the Simon Whitfield. We all want to have that silver medal or that gold medal and that successful business. Not too many people are signing up to be a Colin Jenkins.
Right.
And this is the call. This is why servanthood, is so important and why I think it's just not talked about enough is that because it's hard, but yet in my life, I would say my brother-in-law, who I've hired in the business, I said, will you move out from Toronto to start this? Can you actually sacrifice, for this dream of this, this agency for me? And every single time his answer is, hey, Braden, you let me know what I need to do and I'll do it for you. Mm-hmm. There's never debates of how much you're going to pay me. What am I going to do? This is what I want. He was saying, I am here for you. And I want to help you succeed, and we're going to do this together. Mm-hmm. And for me, I'm like, it's humbling. You just see sacrifice like this, and you realize that he's putting his dreams aside so that we can achieve something together. Even though I might get more of the limelight, and it's incredible. Do I have that same mentality even for clients, even for people that I work with? That whether it's a nonprofit that I volunteer with, am I just willing to just, whatever you need, I will try to be the absolute best I can, even though I may not get any glory, and is it still worth it at the end? Yeah. And I think that's the key thing out of impact, to say, are you willing to do the hard stuff and to be a Colin Jenkins for somebody, or are you not? Yeah, to be the one who receives
and to be the one who gives. And like you said, that's that definition of impact.
Totally.
So
when you become that type of a service provider, and service is about serving, right? You're serving them. You are actually willing to put aside your own, say, rights, your own kind of components to really help them. Does my team know that I am serving them? I want to help them. I really want to get to know them to say, how can I do this, for you? And I find a lot of leaders, whether it's through insecurity, it's either they haven't been modeled how to do it well, and so they don't totally know how. But I think we have to just breathe and just be like, we're all people. We are all created to have a purpose. And do you want to get to know somebody and be serving them enough to be able to say, hey, I'm willing to sacrifice to be that? And I think if you get that mentality, you're going to get impact. And that's where my hope is that when you actually, whether it's you're reading this book or you're involved in groups or you're hanging out with others, it's saying, yeah, we can do this together. And the difference we're going to make in the world, if we have this mentality, is going to be far greater than we actually thought possible.
Yeah. For you as a business owner with your employees, how are you focused on being that servant who provides more value than maybe your employees looking for from a leader?
There's an important thing about a number of years ago, somebody, I was talking to a coach and this good executive, and he said, Braden, I actually don't think you love your staff. And I was like, what do you mean I don't love my staff? Of course I do. I think they're great. They're wonderful people. And he's like, I don't actually think you love them. And I remember taking that back and thinking, you know what, they're right. And at that time, there was people on my team that I didn't even know their names. Like when I would see them, I'd be like trying to like remember who they were. Did I know who their spouses were? Did I know what their interests are? Did I see them as real people with goals and ambitions and different stuff? Or was I just looking at, here's the role I need you to perform. You perform it well, and we're going to get along great.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking I was always taking relationships to the level of transactional, where it was like, hey, you do this, here's my expectations in the job description. If you do that, great. And, in performance reviews, it would always be about the job and things. And we were nice, cordial. But what I realized is, no, you need to push past that and actually be in relationship. And that doesn't mean you're best friends. That doesn't mean we're buddies. Yeah. But it means that they know I really care. Yeah. And so before meetings now, it's, oh, hey, what did you do on the weekend? Oh, that's great. Oh, what's your dog's name? Oh, man, that's amazing. And your kids, how are they doing? How's your spouse doing? What are they up to these days? You're really getting to know them as people. And what that does for them is realize that you don't just work here, you belong here. You belong here. I care more about you successful as an individual and in life than I do just about this transaction. And it wasn't until you start to walk that out and really live it that I was realizing that that's one, I'm more fulfilled. They're more fulfilled. You have these open relationships where they're saying, now we have people come to us and say, hey, Braden, like I'm getting poached by somebody else. I'd rather stay here. Can we work something out? Yeah. That is far better than them just giving a resignation and saying, see you later.
Yeah, right? I got an extra $1 an hour over there. I'm gone.
That's right. Yeah. And whether it's, whether there are operations or your farm operations, because sometimes we have many employees, but taking the time to walk around, to actually see them as people, to invest yourself into those. As a business leader, there is no greater field for impact than I think your own family, friends, employees that you've been given.
Yeah. In the Venn diagram of the professional, the personal, and the spiritual, we start to look at what does it look like to have this spiritual life, to have a relationship with Jesus as a Christian, and that message is love. What does it really look like to engage that third circle, that spiritual, in your life as a leader?
Do people know what a loving relationship looks like? I find with a lot of people who, even ones that would say they know Jesus or they know God, sometimes they don't have a loving relationship. And if they don't, it can be very duty. Yeah. I show up, I do my thing. I'm, thank you. I know God you're there, but maybe when I just need you, I'm in trouble. But if it really permeates your heart, what will happen is you will then start to transform the way you think about others, the way you think about your profession, the way you think about relationships with your friends and your neighbors, is that they're not just people in your vicinity. They are people that you see as like, oh man, I want to see you achieve everything that you wanted to do. I want you to have greater purpose, and I want you to be in heaven with us one day. And I think we have to actually be fun and be joyful and actually want people to be like, man, I want what you have, right?
Yeah.
And I think living a life of impact, that's what we say, it's the abundant life. It should feel like, I can't wait. I want to get up. I want to do this. I want to pursue it, but I'm not pursuing the financial outcomes. I'm pursuing the impact outcomes. And that's where I think people can get at it.
Yeah. So for you, maybe, share with us on the professional, on the personal, and on the spiritual, what are maybe 2 practices that you pursue that lead to the outcomes you want, that see these things coalesce on what you would say is impact? So, personally, professionally, and spiritually, how are you investing in yourself to grow in these areas?
Yeah. So, very practically, when it comes to professional, I think it's about professional development and learning. Whether what you're doing today, you're learning from people, you're writing things down, you're becoming better at your craft, right? As a professional, it's always about how do I just get better as a professional to really make sure that you're providing the best possible products and services that you can, right? You're being the best manager, best leader that you can.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's making sure that I'm investing in that, taking time and money and saying, what am I learning? Right? Very easy. And at least for me, once a month, taking half day, what does it look like to be able to invest in that? Sometimes it's more. Personally, this is about relationships. So once a week, I have a thing where I reach out to one person I haven't talked to in a while for either a lunch or a coffee or just to catch up. Hey, just wanted to connect, just catch up with you. One person in there. And when we actually do connect, I ask them those 3 questions. How are you doing professionally? How are you doing personally? How are you doing spiritually? And where can I help?
Yeah.
Right. That's just practically what I try to always just talk to people about. So it's never awkward. It's never weird. It just feels like, oh, that's what Braden's going to talk to me about.
Yeah.
And then spiritually, this is about, and I've really learned this, is that I want to have more joy and fun with God. And that means when I get up in the morning, I start my day, it's like little devotionals, right? And it's at least 15 to 30 minutes. And so I used to, now it's like, sometimes I'll put on music first and I'll just be like, okay, God, like, what do you want to say today? And it's just being in his presence, just trying to be like, okay, this is fun. And if it's boring, I just mix it up, right? Just try things out. The main idea is that I want to show up and do things that are fun. And I think spiritually, then you become a little bit more alive and you want to tell others and you want to teach them and be like, hey, did you know this? They're like, oh no, I had no idea. It's like, oh, that's really cool.
So obviously, being involved with LeaderImpact is something you've been involved for a long time. You've had a pretty strong hand now in shaping some of the material and direction. Why LeaderImpact, and what's your hope going forward here for it?
Oh, you know what? And I've been involved in lots of different business organizations and stuff, and LeaderImpact is the only one that really talks about the spiritual side. There's other professional development, there's other personal development stuff, but spiritually, personally, and professionally, bringing it all together is something really unique. And it's just beginning. If you're even watching this right now, this is only the second time that LeaderImpact has done a global summit. It's such in early stages. With LeaderImpact, I can see the potential, and you can't just do it alone.
Yeah.
Right. Even watching this right now, it's like when you're just sitting at home in your office and you're watching this, you're looking at email, you're distracted, or it's kind of alone. And yeah, you can chat, but it's not the same.
Right.
Right. We all know that.
Yeah.
But the key thing is that it's about relationship. Look how many people are actually tuning in right now, all around the world, who think like you, who want to grow in these areas. And now you get to be connected to them. You get to connect and say, hey, how are we doing that? Keep going. Because guess what? To be a Colin Jenkins or a leader of impact is hard work.
Yeah.
And you need people to be like, hey, you're doing a great job. Keep going.
Yeah.
Or to keep you on that right track, or to work with you. And that takes intention, it takes relationship. But if we do it together, that's the greatest thing. And for me, LeaderImpact is one of those where I want to see it grow. I want to see it continue. I want to see more people come into it, because you have to invest into it. And when you do, you're going to realize you're going to pull a lot out. Better relationships, knowledge, learning, spiritual growth. And you'd be like, man, I love this.
Yeah. So if you had one thing from your book that you wanted people to walk away with, if they read the whole book, they put it down, and somebody said, oh, tell me about that book, and they're going to say the one thing. What's the one thing?
Yeah. You know what? do you want to live this life of impact or not? That's it. That's the only question you have to ask yourself.
Yeah.
Do you want to be a leader of impact? And for me, the whole book is all about have your eyes wide open. This is what it means. So when you get to the end of your career, the end of your life, do you want to look back and say, I lived a life of impact, and here are the results on relationships? Or do you want to live for yourself?
Yeah.
Right? That is the only question you're going to have to ask. And my hope is that the one thing people take away is that, yes, I want to live a life of impact, and I want to do this, and I want to dedicate my time, and I want to do it with others who want that same thing.
Yeah.
And if you can answer it, then it's like, bring it on.
Yeah.
We love you here.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you for writing the book. Thank you for joining us today, for sharing this. Thank you for your passion for Leader Impact. Yeah, I hope you enjoy the book. If you've read it, that is the question. Do you want to have an impact or do you not? So thanks, Braden.
Hey, thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.